Hey friends, today I want to talk to you about some fantastic perennials that are going to give you nice, beautiful early spring color. I know all of us are desperately ready to say goodbye to winter and hello to spring and welcome all those beautiful colors in our garden and our yard. That's why we're here today. We're going to share with you some fantastic perennials that we are growing right now and that we have been growing for years that will reliably bring you beautiful spring color. Because if we do a little bit of planting, we're going to have year-round color in our garden. And I think there is none more welcome than that early spring because we are ready to get out of winter and say hello to color. This massive block that I have right here, these are all Baptisia. And so there's just different cultivars, different colors that we'll talk about. But Baptisia as a general whole are a very wonderful, long-lived perennial. So if you want to get the most bang for your buck, you cannot go wrong with Baptisia. They do love the full sun, so you're going to need to get at least 6 hours of direct sun in your garden or more. Mine are in the full sun, like sun up to sundown, and they do great. They come in a whole host of colors. So down here, you can see the proven winner tags. We've got, like, I'm just going to run through them. Basically, all the Baptisia are going to be hardy in zones 4 to 9. It truly is like what color that you really like. That is the Blueberry Sunday, Decadence Blueberry Sunday. Beautiful, nice, rich, purpley blue blooms on it. And Baptisia is nice and upright, so you get some vertical interest in your garden, which is super nice. So depending on what you have in your garden, it can be in the middle or the back of your garden. One of my favorites that I have is the lemon meringue. Lemon meringue is a beautiful, nice, kind of soft, lemony yellow, makes a nice big pop in the garden in that early spring. And mine has just grown mammoth. 4 years old, nice and big. Then I do not currently have a vanilla cream in my garden, but looking at the root system and the new growth on these plants, they are insane. So if you will remember, Walter's Gardens is the home of the Proven Winners perennials, okay? So all of these have come from Walter's Gardens. When they come to us, they are just mammoth root system. They come as bare roots, we pot them up, and they go in these nice big 2-gallon containers. I had to think for a second. I was like, this is not a gallon. This is a 2-gallon container. But I'm going to put this forward, and I'm going to let Jerry show you all of the eyes that are waking up in here. If you see that soil where it's being moved, that's because the plant is waking up. So if you see all those kind of dark purple right here, all of those are going to be stems that come up, and they are everywhere. Now they have just now started to wake up. These are last year's stems. You're not going to get any growth from that. You're going to get them from this new stuff. But they are just coming up out of this pot everywhere. Vanilla cream, of course, is that nice, soft, kind of, it starts at like a little bit of like a buttery yellow and then turns to a white. You will get a little bit of size difference in your height. Roughly, they're going to be about that 3-foot size. So that's why I say they do really good for the middle or the back of your flower bed. They do bloom just in the spring. Depends on where you are. For me in North Carolina, Zone 7B, it's an early bloomer. So I get it really kind of in early to mid-spring, and then for the rest of the season I have got this gorgeous blue-green foliage in the back of my flower bed. A huge popular color is pink lemonade. Pink lemonade is, just as its name suggests, a beautiful pink and yellow all on the same plant. Really hugely popular, like I said, because it is just such a fantastic, very pleasing color palette, and it will go with a lot of different other plants in your garden. So we have that one. I'm going to make sure that I'm not leaving anybody out because we don't want to do that. Dark chocolate. So my folks who want to have a little bit of different color in your garden, dark chocolate, this, I'll try to find a really good picture for you. It's almost that deep dark brown, almost a black color. Really nice, striking difference against that green foliage. Just just a great plant. So Baptisia is going to be, like I said, really a fantastic one. Blue bubbly. If you want to attract pollinators to your garden, blue, they're really attracted to, especially our honeybees. So in that early spring, they really do come to these flowers. If you can get blue in your garden the earliest of the spring, then that's wonderful. So blue bubbly, which is a mouthful for sure, is a gorgeous, nice, soft blue. It's that blue purple, but it's a lighter shade than like the blueberry sundae. So this is a beautiful one. Now these guys, this is fun. So you'll notice that these are in a black container. These are from Walter's Gardens. So Walter's Gardens is the home of the Proven Winner perennials, but they also have a beautiful line of their own plants. This one is cracking big time too. And this, I love this one. This is honey roasted. I tend to like those yellowy oranges. And so it truly is that it's almost like a fall color, and it would really pair nicely if you had other bright yellow plants in your garden at that time when it blooms. It would just be really stunning. So honey roasted is another one. So let's see. Oh, and then pink truffles. We got one last one. Pink truffles, of course, as its name suggests, is going to be a nice, lovely shade of pink. And as Jerry is zooming in on these different tags, it's always fun to try to get the camera to zoom on certain things. Yeah. They will be in that 3-foot range. Now this one is going to be a taller one. You know, I said that they can be in that average at 3 foot. Well, this is 4 to 4.5. So when you're picking out your Baptisia, you're going to want to look for your color, right? So what color works in your garden, and then your size. Be very, very mindful of the size, the mature size of these plants. Baptisia tend not to like to be moved because they have a very deep taproot. So normally they don't like to be moved because you can't get that really deep taproot. That's why they're such like long-lived perennials, is because they have a great root system. So think ahead, where are we going to put this, and make sure you put it in the right spot. As far as like, you wouldn't probably want this at the front of your flower bed unless you had like trees behind it, right? We don't want to put this up close and then have some shorter guys below. So Baptisia, look at your local garden center. They should be out early spring because that's when they're going to be in all of their glory. Another great plant, wonderful plant, Amsonia. Amsonia is just, I love this plant because they are native. So it's a native plant. They are one of the absolute earliest bloomers in my garden. And this one is the Storm Cloud from Proven Winners. And I'm going to leave it alone. Part of me, you know, wants to go in here and fix this potting soil because it looks a little rough. But look at that. Look how this sweet thing is waking up. Storm Cloud's really fun because you see how dark those stems are? Really, really like a deep, deep purple with just a little twinge of green on them. So Amsonia Storm Cloud, again, Amsonia will come in some various sizes as far as your height. This is going to be more of a short one, 24 to 30 inches. So it's a little bit more on the more manageable side. I have some of the native at the house, and I mean, they can get pretty big. Hardy in zones 4 to 9. So extremely adaptable. I mean, that is just about all of like the United States, right? So from zones 4 to 9, very adaptable. It is going to be in full sun. Yes, full to part sun. At a minimum, I would say 4 hours, 5 hours of sun. Again, 7B, mine's in full sun and does really well. Once it is established, it's extremely drought tolerant. So this is not going to be a water hog, just like Baptisia, not a water hog. So if you don't have irrigation in your garden, don't worry. These two right here would be excellent choices. They have low water maintenance requirements, but massive, huge flower power. Beautiful, soft, true blue flowers in early spring. And they have such a delicate look when you're doing photography or with us doing videos. When the sun catches it the right way, it looks like it's just glowing, like they're white flowers, but they're not. Just beautiful, fantastic plants. They will pair really well with hibiscus or Shasta daisies, because once they have finished blooming, then you have got this beautiful foliage for the rest of the season. Just like Baptisia, nice early spring, so that way when your Shasta daisies come in next and they're blooming, this is a beautiful backdrop. Then come your hibiscus, right? Those gorgeous summer-Vic hibiscus would be a beautiful addition and companion planting in your garden. So when you're looking at your garden, especially with your perennials, think what blooms early spring, late spring, early summer, midsummer, right? So we try to have something that is blooming all at different times in your garden. And then when they're done blooming, do they provide interest or do they kind of melt away? There's a balance that you try to get. Some plants melt away in the heat. I'm going to show you one here in a second that melts away. But when it blooms in the early spring, it is so worth it that it's okay that it disappears in the heat of the summer. There is another, we have another Amsonia. This is the string theory. And you can see that it's going to be a little bit behind the storm cloud. So string theory, you can see that they have showed you on the tag both the spring color and the fall color, because Amsonia typically does do beautiful fall interest, but this is really that very fine foliage on it, different than Storm Cloud. Storm Cloud has a wider leaf string theory, as its name suggests. String is very fine. But see, it is just starting to wake up right here. Just not quite as advanced as the Storm Cloud, but just equally as beautiful. You can absolutely do one or the other, or you can certainly mix and match in your garden. Because they have different leaf textures, they would be beautiful all together. Now, what I was talking about as far as like really early spring color, but it hates the heat, bleeding hearts. Bleeding hearts are one of my favorite. I think a lot of people love bleeding hearts because of the beautiful, fun, delicate flowers that come on this plant. Now, there are a ton of different bleeding hearts out there. This one is called Valentine. Do you recognize that sweet little flower on there? They do these beautiful, the flowers, the blooms are on the underneath side of the stem. And so your stems get nice and long and tall, and then the flowers are underneath. But look how this baby is just like growing. I mean, has just erupted. These are definitely more on the cool weather plant. And this is going to be in your shade garden. This is not going to be in your sun. Definitely a shade plant. It is going to be hardy in zones 3 to 9. So very versatile. I mean, even more cold tolerant than your Amsonia. If you're in a zone 3, you can handle more sun, right? If you're in a zone 9, I would suggest deep, deep shade. A lot of people think that their bleeding hearts are dying when the heat of the summer hits. They're not. They're going dormant. They're like, y'all, it is too hot. I'm checking out. I'm going to bed. I'll see you next spring. And that's what they do. So plan accordingly in your garden. I have bleeding hearts behind a hydrangea. When my hydrangea is still bare in the spring, these are coming up. They're full, they're lush, they're covered in beautiful flowers. Then as the season progresses, right, my hydrangea begins to flush out. I still have my foliage, but when the hydrangea is blooming in the heat of the summer, then that's when my bleeding hearts start to go dormant. And when they really go dormant, I can just cut them to the ground and it's just like they disappear and my beautiful hydrangea is there taking all of the show. So it's okay. So just plan and know that in the heat of the summer, they're probably going to go dormant. They're not dead. Don't rip them out. Just cut them to the ground and they will be fine. More for my shade people. Pulmonaria. If you do not have Pulmonaria and you have a shade garden, then I highly recommend the new Pinkaboo. Pinkaboo from Proven Winners is a beautiful Pulmonaria that has true pink flowers that will turn to a blue. You may be familiar with Spot On. Spot On is a little different in the fact that it's more of a salmon color instead of a pink. We have had great success with Pinkaboo. Now this greenhouse is unheated and they are already like you can clearly see plants are waking up and showing beautiful color. I was at my mama's house just the other day. You know, she just lives right beside of us. And she had gotten some pinka-blues, and they're in the landscape. They're already blooming. I mean, here it is, the very end of January, 1st of February, and her Pulmonaria are blooming. So there you go. These are more deer resistant. Not deer proof, deer resistant, because they have very kind of hairy leaves and it feels a little rough on the deer's lips. So they're going to be more apt to go to something else than the Pulmonaria. Hardy in zones 3 to 9. I mean, I'm telling you, y'all, very, very versatile. So if you're like, Jenny, I'm in Minnesota. I don't know what zone Minnesota is. I'm covered in snow, or I'm in Maine or New Hampshire or Oregon or wherever, and I have tons of snow. I can't think about that. Well, guess what? Just hold on. Calendar-wise, it may be a little different, but if you're in a zone 3 or higher to like a zone 9, you can do this pinky blue. Again, the colder you are, the more sun you can have. The hotter you are, the more shade you need. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're planting your garden. And the pulmonarias are wider than they are tall. Definitely something you want in the front of your border, front of your bed. Your just like we talk about the Baptisia being tall and go to the middle or the back. Pulmonaria, more front and center because it's nice and low and wide. Something you may not think about, strawberries, especially these ones from Proven Winners. The buried treasures, I'm trying to see if we've got some old blooms, and we've got one that is getting ready. Oh, here's one. Hold that thought. I knew I'd find one. So what's really fun about the buried treasure from Proven Winners is not only are they beautiful, but they also produce edible fruit. So you can absolutely plant these buried treasures for both ornamental reasons and for dietary reasons, right? They make delicious little strawberries. Now they come in different colors. This is Berry Treasure Red. The only difference is your flower color. This does have that nice red flower on it. And then I'm going to turn it, and it is a perennial. So you may think, oh, it's just a strawberry, it's an annual. I don't want to invest in, in an annual for 1 year. No, it is absolutely a perennial, and it is hardy in zones 4A to 9B. For us, where we are in North Carolina, these are like semi-evergreen. They don't go away. I still have foliage. Now, this is a nice little baby plant. As they continue to grow, when we really start to sell them in April, they will be nice and full and coming over the side with strawberries on them. So we have lots of customers of all ages come by and walk by the strawberry table and help themselves with some strawberries, which I love, right? Now, this is one that I was really kind of like hesitant about. And that's why I love having such a great relationship with our friends over at Walter's Gardens, because they sent this to me as a sample a couple of years ago. The reason I say I was hesitant is because it's only hardy to zone 7. It is zones 3 to 7. I am a 7B, and I was like, there is no way that this heaven sent will handle the heat and humidity of North Carolina, because I like to give my plants a little bit of a buffer zone. Well, Walters sent them to me anyway, and by golly, y'all, they performed magnificently well. Look at that gorgeous foliage. It looks like a fern. It reminds me of a fern, but it is not. Nice rapid growth on this. Again, when we start to sell these, it will have filled out this pot and it will be blooming. Beautiful, pure blue blooms. It's going to be about 18 to 24 inches tall. Again, like I said, zones 3 to 7. Now on the tag, it says full sun, part shade. Remember what I said? The colder you are, the more sun. The hotter you are, the more shade. I have mine in deep, deep shade, and they are doing great. So for me in 7B, it was a little iffy, but they're in what I call the forest pansy bed, because they're underneath the forest pansy red bud, deep shade and on irrigation. And they currently are, I still have lots of beautiful foliage. Is it low? Absolutely. It's not like tall and flowering, but it's low and a nice mound, so I can see that, unlike my hostas that have completely disappeared. But if you're looking for an early color, nice beautiful blue, beautiful foliage for the rest of the season. I'm telling you, this is really nice because you'll get this nice mound and then these beautiful blue stalks coming up. Gorgeous plants, gorgeous. So I think that is all right now what we have as far as the perennials going in the greenhouse. Now, do I have lots of other plants for you? Absolutely. But it's a cloudy, rainy day. And so we were like, let's give them an update on the perennials and show them what you can be buying and looking for at your local garden center when they open up. So if you are, especially if you're in the southeast or in warmer zones, go start hitting up your garden centers right now. I know for us, we're going to be opening up February the 18th. These kinds of plants, especially ones that we have had, like we overwintered, they're going to be great and they're going to be ready to go into your garden right away. So check out your local garden center and see what beautiful early spring color they have. Now, we're going to end today because I want to give you a little bit of an update on the Annex because we've had some good progress happening. We're still moving forward. People are asking, are you shipping yet? No, we're not. Not quite yet, because we're still getting all of our systems in place. Now, I will tell you, as you come in, you will see that we have one side has light and one side does not. That is because they've gotten all the walls are on. So all the walls are on and we've started putting the ceiling in. Well, as you're putting the ceiling in, we had to take down the lights. Jerry and I went to the hardware store today and got some hooks. So we will put those hooks on tomorrow so that we can start to see again. But we're going to have our LED lights that will be, we have the outlets going down the center of the building. And then those lights will go 5 feet on each side of the Annex ceiling. So you can see that. I don't know if, Jerry, can you get the ceiling right here? You already did? I know, but did you get the signature? I don't know if Jerry can do that. Well, if not, I'll try to take a photo and send it to you. I know that y'all will appreciate that. So of course, the boards were laying on the ground. And if you can see that, Brenna decided to walk on the board with her little muddy paws. So we have, she signed the ceiling for us. So anyway, lots of fun there, but we got all of the beadboard is on. Nice insulation is in there. So this is going to be nice and toasty. We are, because this is construction and we are not master wood craftsmen, right? So we're gardeners, we're plant people, y'all. We are not woodworkers. That is my daddy's job, not mine. So we are going to have trim pieces that go both at the tippy top and along this seam because that will drive us all crazy to have some gaps showing. So it is going to be the gardener's version of crown molding. It was not crown molding. It's just a simple little trim piece, but it will hide those gaps and then it will help hide the seam. So that way we can kind of clean everything up and make it look nice and neat and tidy. But you can kind of see how we're having to go through here. It's a tedious process because if you've ever put like wood on a ceiling, right? I mean, you have to cut, you have to measure, you have to make sure everything's just right. And then somebody's having to hold it up while the other person is going through and nailing or doing whatever. So it is coming along. Everything is done as far as the walls, all the electrical is working. Fantastic. We're trying to race and get the ceiling done before the garage door folks call us and go, hey, we're ready to install the garage doors, because the last thing we want to do is go, oh, we're not ready, just bump us down on the list. No, if they call and say, hey, we can come do it in whatever day, then we're going to work around the clock and get this done so that when they're ready, we can get the garage doors on. Because at that point, then we will be sealed in. Thankfully, we're out of the rain and all that. But if it's a cold, chilly day, then it's a cold, chilly day in here for sure. Things are moving along quite nicely. Potting machine, of course, is in here. Once all the construction is done, then we can move on to the next processes and get everything nice and tidy and really get buttoned up and then get on the outside and get the siding done. But yep, just to give you a little update on what's going on here, I think that is pretty much it with the Annex. So Hopefully you found one or two plants that was kind of piqued your interest. Maybe you don't have them in your garden yet and you're looking for some early spring color. I hope you found that helpful. Check out your local garden center, give them a call, ask them if they're going to be having any of those plants because maybe they'll be able to bring some in with their plant orders. So as always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a fantastic day and we'll see you in the next video. Bye friends.